We're now continuing to learn the Maimer Nasata Lireiech that the Rebbe said Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz Tavshin Yud Aleph. We're Be'ezus Hashem this time going to finish the Maimer, and tomorrow Mitzvah Hashem we will do a summary. So the Rebbe spoke about the difference between Avodas HaBirurim and Avodas HaNisyonos, and the Rebbe said that for the Avodah of Nisyonos, in order to overcome a test, one needs to arouse the Yechida Shebenefesh. What's the meaning of the Yechida Shebenefesh? In the soul there are 5 parts: Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. The Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama are called the Koiches Pnimiyim, the inner powers of the soul, because they're inside. They are the part of the soul that's inside the person and sustains him. The nefesh is the simple life force in the lowest form, in the simplest form. That's what gives a person the power to do, to act, etc. That's mostly connected to the power of action. That's something that an animal has as well. It's a nefesh, a life force. It's connected to the world of asiya, action, practical action. Ruach is the spirit, which that's something which already is not there mostly by an animal. Because when we say Vayi Adam L'Nefesh Chaya, the Targum says L'Ruach Memalalo, a spirit that speaks. Spirit is connected more to the power of speech. That's generally found only by a human being. But spirit, which is the power of speech, is connected also to the emotional aspect of a person, which is generally connected to speech, as we see that when a person has a feeling, an emotion, speech is what makes it become bigger. When you get angry, if you want to make sure, the best advice against anger is count to 100 and don't speak. Because speech is what empowers the emotions. The same thing is the opposite. When we daven, we're supposed to daven with our mouth, to actually say the words. To the extent that on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur it says in order to increase the kavanah, one's even allowed to say Shemona Esrei out loud. Why? Because speech is what causes emotions to grow. When a person says something, when a person says I love you to someone else, that makes the emotion become stronger. And the same thing when a person speaks about the greatness of Hashem, it causes the emotions of love and fear, which are supposed to come in davening, to become stronger. So that's the power of Ruach. Neshama is connected with intellect. Nishmas Shin Dalid Yud Tevinim. The neshama is what makes a person understand. The neshama is the power of intellect, which is connected also specifically with thought, which is directly connected to the intellect. But there's all things which are part of a person's life. His practical life, his emotional life, and his intellectual life. Chaya and Yechida, Chaya is the essence of the soul, which is connected with the power of desire. Ratzain, the fact that the soul wants something, and Yechida is usually connected with tainug, pleasure. The fact that someone enjoys something. Now, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, action, speech, and thought, or practical, emotional and intellectual. Those are all things which are powers of a person's soul. They're powers of a person's soul which you can deal with. You can cause them to happen or not to happen. A person can cause his action, his speech, his emotions, his intellect. A person can deal with them. They can either be yes or no. Desire and pleasure, either I want it or I don't want it. It's certainly pleasure. Either I enjoy it or I don't. I can't cause myself to want it or cause myself to enjoy it. Why? Because those are things which are part of the essential soul, which is above the hispashtos, above the way the soul affects the practical life of the person. And that's the same idea when we talk about a nisayan, and that's why nisayan is from the power of Yechida. Yechida is the essence of the soul. That's why Yechida is also the way the soul is one with Hashem. The way to fight with Birurim, the way to elevate and refine physical objects that have something in them, is by explaining, understanding, feeling, or acting upon a certain decision. But when it comes to an nisayon, which is a test, the test is not something real. The test is merely something which is put there in order to test me. The way to fight it is not through understanding it, not through feeling it, but through the essence. And like we said yesterday, the story of the Chassidim going to hear the Maimer, to get the Maimer, to learn a Maimer. This essence is called Yechida. This is what the person's real essence is. This is connected with the Parsha we're reading this Shabbos. Chukas HaTorah. Chukas HaTorah. The Torah, the essence of the Torah, which is Chakika engraved in a person's soul, is something which is beyond understanding. This is the way it is because this is the way it is. Azay, unishtanish. This is the reason, not because of any reasons. This is the reality. The only way to deal with an nisayon, you can't fight with an nisayon, because what are you fighting with? You can fight with something that exists. Something that doesn't exist, you have to bring out in yourself the essential connection of who you are. And that brings out in the person a higher level than the person himself. Then now the person himself has revealed his essence, something which is usually not revealed. And that's also why we say that Yechida is connected with Hishtavus, with equality, everything is equal. When it comes to understanding, to feeling, to action, there's differences. Sometimes I'm in the mood, sometimes I'm not in the mood. Sometimes I'm in a situation where I'm healthy, sometimes I'm in a situation where I'm not feeling well. Sometimes I'm in a situation where I'm depressed or happy, etc., and that will make a difference in how I behave. But when it comes to Yechida, it's always the same. It comes from the essence. This is the way things are. It never changes. It's always the same thing. And it's that power which is revealed in order to fight a test, in order to overcome a test, in order to overcome an nisayon. And like the example that we saw by the Frierdiker Rebbe in prison, since what was there wasn't a mere physical thing, which is a question of should I do it or should I not do it. It's a question of there's something here which is fighting against the whole essence of Yiddishkeit, the whole essence of godliness in the world. How does that exist? That exists only because Hashem wanted to enable me to reveal inside myself, not to fight that object, like the river of Avraham Avinu. Not to fight something, but rather to find within myself that strength and that power and that essential bittul submission to Hashem, where I realize that this is the reality and nothing changed. And this is the concept of the meaning of how one deals with a nisayon. That when one deals with a nisayon, it's through Ishtavos. When it doesn't make a difference what happens, this is the way it is, and that will never change. Now the Rebbe continues to say, because the higher something is, the lower down it comes. That means that when it came to a situation where the entire concept is only there in order to fight against godliness, where the spark itself of godliness was able to become darkened, it itself doesn't even shine. There's nothing there but the spark itself, and even there's no revelation, there's no shine, there's no light to it. It doesn't reveal godliness in any way. It's just the essence that's there, and that enables something to go totally against. That's because it comes from a much higher level. And that's why this is specifically in the last moments of Galus that we deal with Nisyonis, because now we're going to the very end to deal with the highest level of sparks in order to elevate them as well. And the Rebbe explains how does that work. So the Rebbe says a very interesting thing. We know that one of the reasons why Mashiach will come specifically in our time, not in the time of the Alter Rebbe, not in the time of previous generations, because then they had amazing minds that understood godliness, their intellectual powers of connecting both in the revealed part of Torah and the secrets of the Torah was unbelievable. Their power of connection, of feeling, of emotions, of davening. We hear all the stories of the Chassidim of then, and we're not talking about so many years ago, even 50, 60 years ago. Today we don't have that. So why specifically should Mashiach come now? The Rebbe says in Chassidus, it explains a very interesting thing. At that time, because they had minds, they had understanding, they were able to connect. That sort of covered over the essence, because it was more what was being felt was their powers, their intellectual power, their emotional power, etc. Now that we don't have the feelings and the intellect, we have only the essence. The essence is revealed, and the essence itself could be connected. The same thing is with the Nisayan. There's no light, there's no shine, all there is the actual spark itself. And that's why specifically that spark is able to have that idea, just like the Mesiras Nefesh. The self-submission that we can have is because we don't have the intellectual power. So also the Nisayan itself is something that because all there is its existence, that's why it's the highest thing. And that's why the Rebbe says, that's why we say that the test brings to das. It says in the pasuk, "Ki menaseh Hashem elokeichem eschem lo das." Hashem is testing you in order to know, meaning that as a result of the test, as a result of this thing standing in our way, that brings us to knowledge to be able to know godliness. We know that the ultimate of the coming of Mashiach is Umala ha'aretz deyas Hashem kamayim layom mechasim. The entire universe will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. The das, the knowledge, that's the ultimate expression of the time of Mashiach. Why is it that as a result of a Nisayan we get to das? What's das mean? We know the difference between Chachma, Bina and Das. Chachma is understanding. Now Chachma in essence is above understanding, because Bina as we understand it, Chachma is wisdom. It's the spark of wisdom, something which we don't relate to. It's like that lightning flash, that flash of wisdom that comes to a person, or the thing he hears or reads somewhere else. He has to now use his mind of Bina to understand it. But once you understand it, it's true that you're not reaching the essence of Chachma itself, but the little bit of the shine of Chachma, that's something which you got to understand. So it's all something which is in your mind, in your intellectual powers of understanding. Das is connection. Das means this is the way it is because this is the way it is. It's not something which you understand, it's connecting. That power of das means that it becomes real. Because Chachma and Bina, as I understand it, there's feelings which are an emotional connection to it. Chukas, Chakika, when it's engraved, you don't understand it. But in essence, that's because it's something which is beyond understanding, because this is the way it is. It's real. It's not just understood. It's real. That's das that will happen when Mashiach comes. That concept of das will be revealed. We're not just going to know about Hashem. We're not just going to understand about Hashem. We're not just going to feel Hashem. It's going to be real. It's going to be the reality of our lives. That's Yechida. Yechida means something which is one with Hashem, beyond understanding, beyond knowledge, beyond feeling. It's one because it is, and that's why Yechida brings the Mesiras Nefesh, that a person should give his life up, that a person should give his desire and his will up. How does that happen? That's me. But because there's something deeper of what the real me is, the essence of Hashem. That essence becomes revealed specifically through a Nisayan, because the Nisayan is what brings out in the person not knowledge, not understanding, not feeling, but going deeper into himself and revealing his Yechida, his essence. And as a result, the person now has the power through Nisayanis. And like the Frierdiker Rebbe says, that in Galus a person is given the power to understand the truth that this is only a Nisayan. And then the person reveals in himself this power, this level of das, to the extent that the fact that we realize that it's only a Nisayan, and we're able to overcome all the concealment, which means all the things that try and take us away from the reality of what Hashem is and what Hashem wants, the reality of godliness that's revealed in the world. And instead we go, not in a way of discussion, not in a way of war, but in a way that we feel the essence of the connection, that the whole situation is not real, the only reality is Hashem. Then we're going to come to the truth that the Nisayan disappears and we elevate the spark which is inside it, which is that highest spark of Yechidah, and we come to the revelation of Mashiach, and through the avodah of Galus, and especially in the last moments of Galus, that we come to the revelation of Atzmos Umos through Mashiach Tzidkenu, speedily in our time, mamash.